Hi everyone, it's Frugal here, and as always I have my coffee because otherwise somebody might just get killed. So I want to do a bit of a talk today about where are you in your startup or your small business, your side hustle, and what is the process going forward. So generally there's different phases, and unless you have coffee, I suggest you grab a coffee because this is going to not be a 1-minute video. So in general, you've got a couple of phases. The first phase is the ideation phase. This is the phase where you start thinking about, okay, what do I want to do? So that would be things like, what is the problem that I can identify? What is the frustration that I have? What can I offer people? Now, the two questions that you always need to be able to answer, the first being, will people be willing to spend money on it? And is there going to be take up? i.e., will people be using it? And will people be able to be paying money for it? So once you answer those two questions, you've basically can take your idea, to the next phase and say, okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start getting all my resources in place. I'm going to understand what I need, what I require, and then that's basically, you might want to actually source some people. In this point, I want to say, many people say, listen, I want funding, I want loads and loads of money. I get that query a lot. Am I willing to, take shares in the company and I do all the work? And I tell them I want a 10-year business plan, a 5-year marketing plan, and I want everything, to understand with calculations about when I'm actually going to see my money, because code is expensive, tech is expensive. So, don't go in the idea phase and start getting people on board and resources. It absolutely just doesn't make sense at all. So what I would suggest you do is have a couple of conversations in that time, in the ideation phase. The reason I'm saying that is because if your idea is so simple that anybody can take it and just replicate it and make lots of money from it, you have a really terrible idea. You need to have something that makes you unique, something that is actually that you can offer that nobody else can. So for example, in my business, what I do is I offer code and design and small business. So I studied graphic design and I've been working in code for 10 years. And because I can combine these things, what it allows me to do then is I can then go to the client and say, I'm not just going to build you a huge verbose system. I'm not just going to design you a pretty system. I'm actually going to put all of these things together and give you a minimum viable product, which is the next phase, so that you can test and see if the idea can work. So once you've got all your resources together, have something small that you can put together and say, this, is my minimum viable product, and I want to see if I can get one paying customer, just one paying customer. Remember, you don't want to go big. You don't want to say spend R1 million to see if some idea is going to work. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want to see maybe just put a WordPress site together. There's loads of platforms that gives you free websites. It might be that you need to run a Google ad campaign. It might be that you contact an influencer on Twitter and say, can you just retweet this for me? Because we really just want to get a little bit more information about, about our market. The big thing that you need to remember is you need to validate your learning. So you need to say, I want to learn about my market. I want to learn about the product and the market and how they fit together. So what you need to do is you need to cycle through these things, and you need a spreadsheet of sorts to say, this is what I'm testing, this is what was the outcome. And once you've got that in place, you can basically keep on cycling until you have a fit between your product and your market. The next phase then would be to scale it, because then after quite a couple of iterations, then you can basically then go and say, okay, well, my idea is working now, I've got a couple of paying customers, now I just need to scale it. Oftentimes, people don't want to scale, and that's perfectly fine. Not all businesses should scale. Remember, when you're talking about tech startups, they want to be able to scale, i.e. they want to be able to have overheads, the cost, expenses, really low, and then the income really high. So something like technology, like web applications, websites, think the Ubers, the Airbnbs, they tend to do really, really well in this regard, because you don't need to have a lot more expenses like overheads, i.e. people, infrastructure in place. Whether you have one person or 1 million people, the cost is relatively the same. So when you scale, this might be the opportune moment to start looking for funding. Remember, there are other options as well. I know I'm focusing on funding, but I really just want to encourage you, don't just give your company away through equity. It's just not worth it and in the early stages. Yes, I know you want to spread the risk, but if you believe that your idea can work, rather wait until you are sure that your idea is working before you spread that risk. So that's just my thought about the startup life cycle or the small business life cycle. I encourage you to test your ideas, speak to people about it, grow your business. It might be something as simple as just going to a farmer's market and showcasing your handmade pasta or your magwinya for white people. Obviously, deep fried in olive oil, because white people, except for Umlungu over here, tend to be really fussy. But go and taste it. Go and put it out into the world. Don't just go and say, I want to scale it, I want it really big and I want to spend $1 million on it. Grow it slowly. Have a wonderful day and happy investing.